Okay, welcome to MacMurray Social Work Podcast. We're here with Dr. Joe and some social work students today to talk about our experience in London. If you'd like to introduce yourself.
My name's Megan. I am a junior in the social work program.
My name's Courtney, and I'm also a junior in the social work program.
And my name's Chancey, and I'm also a junior in the social work program.
Thank you.
And I'm Dr. Joe Squillace, the director of the social work program.
Okay, so today we're going to be talking about our trip to London, which we took as part of an international social work course for our social work majors. We started with, we did some coursework in class, but we also did a spiritual retreat in which we talked about kind of the idea of going on a journey together, spirituality, trying to connect that to our breakaway experience, journeying abroad. Do you think that this idea of journeying created bonds between students or between students and professors?
Personally, yeah. I feel like we really got to know each other a little more. We found out some things about each other that we didn't previously know. And I feel definitely as a class, it really made us closer, like a closer knit group.
Yeah, I feel like it made me personally more comfortable going out of the country with people because we didn't know each other as well before, know things about each other.
Yeah, and I think it's also helped us this following school year.
Yeah,
we all kind of have a different bond because we went out of the country together and had the retreat and spent a lot of time with each other.
I think for me also, it kind of made me see my professors more as people instead of professors, like more in a personal role, like they're on this journey with us, they're part of it, as opposed to being like an authority, I guess.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Dr. Joe, what do you think?
I think this is great. Let's keep going, and then towards the end, I'll sort of re-talk about these different concepts.
Did you make a connection with spirituality in our journey? Kind of the things that we talked about at the retreat, how we journaled and read some different verses, listened to music. Did that make a connection with you, for preparing for the trip and actually being on the trip?
Silence is usually a no, a glaring no.
I guess it depends on which way you were, how you were kind of coming at the, spiritual way. For me, it was more of, kind of like a weird connection with nature. It helped me find out more about myself and, see that I do connect to people, not from the past, I was thinking spiritual more like church and connection with God and all these things. And I found a connection with these people that I see every day. And, I just never really got the chance to talk to them and just really talk and kind of let the emotions flow.
So yours is more of a spiritual connection with other people in the program and stuff, as opposed to. Gotcha. Chancey, what do you think?
I think it strengthened my own spiritual journey and faith that I have, but also, as Meg said, just being able to connect with people who are like you, but also very different than who you are.
Yeah. I think it was interesting to see, like I said earlier, see teachers more as people, but fellow students as well, that other people are going through things and experiencing things. While we're all doing the same thing in school, it's our personal lives are different and our backgrounds are different, and I thought that was interesting.
Mm-hmm.
One of the connections with spirituality was the Albert Nolan readings, which was the connecting spirituality with the stages of poverty, from compassion to ultimately solidarity.
Mm-hmm.
Did it make more connection? Was there more of a connection while we were there versus when you were just reading it in class or as an assignment or going on the retreat?
I think there was more of a connection when we were there because we were actually seeing it,
Mm-hmm. And kind of experiencing, talking with people who have experienced these things that maybe we haven't, and seeing, them starting at square one and then stepping up and doing all these things. And it, in my mind, kind of went back to those readings and was like, okay, this is experienced in different ways for every person.
Yeah, and whenever we went, we did that reading, and it was talking about how you have sympathy for them, but you don't really do anything, and then there's action with it and that kind of thing. And when we visited the homeless shelter, it was really neat to connect that, because they view the people who are homeless as people, not less than. Like, they make them better of who they already are, where I feel like here it's a little bit different.
I think that's important for us as social workers too, to learn that compassion, see that close up, be able to put ourselves like in an empathetic position, look at them like as we were equals. I think that's important. Okay, we visited a couple agencies, 3 agencies while we were in London. What was your favorite? What was the most memorable that we went to?
Coin Street.
Yeah.
You guys? That was my favorite too. I really enjoyed it. Courtney and I didn't get to go to St. Mungo's because we had food poisoning. So we didn't make it there, but so Coin Street, that was my favorite too. And they do a lot of different things there, and their website actually has evolved a lot more since even we were there. I had the chance to get on it the other day. It's coinstreet.org, and kind of see the more recent things that they've been doing. They've been buying up more land. They're starting a whole new community with cooperative housing along the bank there to accommodate more people, which I think is really great. So what really stuck out to you about Coin Street?
Or visiting agencies in general.
Yeah, or agencies in general.
I think in Coin Street it was just like the one-stop shop. Like, they just had everything, or the available resources nearby to help everyone who went there.
And why was that interesting to you? Compared to what?
Like, here, if a mom is in poverty and she's pregnant, she has to go here for poverty, and somewhere else for her doctor's appointment, somewhere else for housing, and they just have all of that there. And I feel like if there wasn't something there to give that, like, client or mom, it would quickly be available.
They would find a way to do it. Yeah. I thought that was interesting as well. And I thought their idea of cooperative housing was really interesting, that those people actually, make decisions for the community, the people that live there, and are utilizing the services.
And the daycare, so it's like, it's all just like a building block.
We loved the daycare. That was the best.
Yes.
Seeing all the kids and stuff. And I think that the parenting classes were really interesting. And something else that stuck out to me was about Claudia Jones. We went to see the Claudia Jones organization. Was the Repairing Relationship project that they have going to try to bring fathers back into the lives of their children, that maybe, if they have a single mom, they try to include the dad in parenting there. And I think that's really interesting and maybe something that, we could learn from. I thought that was really cool and unique that they did that.
One of the things I observed at Claudia Jones, which I loved, was just how you're all socialized as American students to come to class. You sit in class for 50 to 75 minutes, and you listen to the professor, and then you take notes, and then you respond to questions, type of thing. And so even when we were visiting agencies, if somebody was sort of talking to us, you all were like very attentive. What was fascinating about Claudia Jones was culturally, and this is true of my experience with Caribbean cultures and being with those populations, it's more a conversation. And they were basically sitting around having a conversation with one another. And I sort of saw you all just sort of like sitting there, like not sure what to do. If you could speak, did you have to raise your hand? And so we are just socialized differently. And that experience of that of seeing that culture was important, because if you remember when they were done, all of a sudden they were like, so what do you all have to say? Next thing you know, we stayed there for longer than when they talked to us, just sort of chit-chatting and talking and meeting the students and meeting the workers and talking to them about the neighborhood. And that was just as rich as then when they were talking to us. But I just sort of saw that, and Professor Tina also saw that as well, and coming from that culture herself, she witnessed that, and we were talking about that at the back of the room. So I thought that was really interesting.
I think the whole neighborhood was even more casual, even outside of the agency. Just the feel of being there. Once we got there, it was really casual, really almost like homey, I guess.
Right.
Yeah, you definitely didn't feel out of place, with them when they were talking. If you were off to the side, they were just gonna come talk to you and pull you into the conversation.
Yeah. It was a really cool experience. Speaking of the Caribbean and Jamaican culture, we tried some different food and stuff while we were there. Courtney and I know that all too well. So, does anything stand out to you about being like in London, that your experience was different there culturally as far as food, just like the cultural immersion of it, the tourism that we went to? Does anything really stand out to you when you look back on it? Something that we did, maybe?
For me, it was the portion sizes. They are way smaller there, which is it was kind of nice because I thought about, like how many people were like riding their bikes to work, and like I would see girls with helmets, like a nice like raincoat, and then like heels, and they were just cruising on their bike, like keeping up with these cars. And you could see when you'd pass by like these little markets, there'd be like 2 apples, and they were pretty cheap instead of like 5 apples, because I can't eat 5 apples, but the 2 apples is just like, it's kind of something that I wish that here we had more of, or
There's a lot of fresh food available all the time.
Mm-hmm.
I thought some of the food that we all tried we did Portuguese one day, you did Ethiopian, didn't you, Chancey?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we missed out on that.
Not a big fan of all of it. The
We
dish
did
I
Indian.
had, the dish I had was really great. I tried lamb.
Yeah.
It was pretty good. Yeah.
I saw pictures and I was like, oh my gosh. We did Indian too. That was interesting.
Yeah.
Something I'd never done before, and I've had it several times since I've been back.
Yeah, it was really good.
Yeah, it was good. It was a cool experience too. Brick Lane was one of my favorite parts. Going down there and just seeing. I loved walking down the street and just hearing different languages and seeing different people.
Right.
That was
Yeah.
so cool to me. That
It was so diverse, but it was like the norm.
Yeah.
Like we were all like turning our heads like, what? And then they were just like, nope, that's every day.
all the different people and all their cultures. Like we went to that street fair, had all this different food, and Andy was eating like I don't even know what it was. Like, oh my gosh. Yeah, that was one of my favorites.
He didn't even know what it was, so
He didn't care.
Yeah.
Whatever. He was down to try whatever.
But what was most memorable to you? Like when you think about the London trip, like what, we've talked about agencies and food, and this is true of cultural activities. What as a student, when you think about it, was most memorable to you? What stands out to you as being something that really made you think differently, or experience something totally differently? Like why is that most memorable to you?
I think the bonds that we made with everyone on the trip was most memorable to me.
Yeah.
Why?
I mean, a memory.
Because,
Why?
like Jordan said, we didn't have these bonds before, and
Mm-hmm.
it just, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think as a group, so we all stayed in a hostel, and I think one of the most memorable things was when, I don't know, it was towards the end of the week when we were all, like, it was karaoke night, and there was just karaoke with people from all over the world.
Australia, I think.
Yeah, just
Yeah,
singing
yeah.
songs, like bonding, laughing together.
Yeah, that was so much
That was
fun.
just a really cool experience, on top of all of the memories of
Especially
classmates.
with just people that we didn't know, too.
I think my
was cool.
favorite was pushing like your comfort zone. As you get so used to just being here and doing your everyday life and stuff, it's easy to forget that there's other things out there, that people are different, other people live different lives than you. I think that's what affects me now, is looking back on it. I want to be different, I guess.
Yeah, I would definitely agree. Like the hostel, it was basically a cooler version of a hotel. So it was like that's what it felt like to me, and it was nice to like.
It's kind of like camp.
Yeah, it was like it
Not
was
to
like
us, 'cause we were all just
like a teenage
bunked
camp.
together.
Yeah, and like with the kitchen downstairs, like in the morning, like I'd always get oatmeal or like a glass of orange juice, and I see these people making all these like fancy dishes, and I'm like, wow, they're having chocolate in the morning, so that is okay.
Yeah. Tina made us a pretty good vegetable soup when we were sick in that kitchen. It was cool. And all the different people from different cultures being right there in our hotel, and you go down to the lobby and just sit there and you can see people talking and people come and go, and it was a really cool place to stay.
It was very like welcoming too. It wasn't, like in a hotel, you usually don't hang out in a lobby or go like if you're in the pool, it's like you only keep with your certain people. But in the hostel, it's like when we were playing pool, we were pretty much just playing with whoever could hopefully speak English or get the point across. And, this is what we're doing. So.
Get the point across, yeah. Yeah, it was a cool place to stay. And we had this great little convenience store across that had all of the, like, local brands of junk food, which was great. Spent a lot of money on just the weirdest stuff I could find.
Yeah, the cookies were different.
Yeah, they were. Yeah, they were. So, in what ways did you feel like you experienced diversity maybe when we were in the agencies? Because not that we're out in the field yet, but we kind of know semi what to expect with our populations. And I think in being such a big city and especially such a diversity in London, I think that they got people from every different walk of life, every different culture. I think that would be difficult as a social worker to try to accommodate all those different people and experiences.
Well, and the contrast is most of us are practicing in a very rural region.
Area, yeah.
Yeah.
Was St. Mungo's though?
Homeless.
Yeah, that one, when we visited there, it really opened my eyes to not seeing the people as people who like oh, we need to help them. It's like seeing them as people and like saying, hey, we know you can do this, let's hear some ideas. What do you like? Let's try these out. And, we're going to stick to our guns, but we know you can do it. So that was really important to me. It was like saying, hey, you got this, and watching them grow as a person. And like everyone has struggles in their life, but it was cool to really see these people especially if they talk about their past, and just seeing how far they've come. And it's just giving a little support to someone can really just let them blossom.
In somebody can be the difference.
Yeah.
And they were proud of what they had accomplished. Like when we were down in like the work area and they were laying tile or laying brick, like they were excited to show us that they had that skill that they were going to be able to use later.
Like I said, Courtney and I didn't make it there, but we did hear about it, and I read about it on the website. They have a recovery college that teaches different skills. It's their process is called Emergency Recovery Prevention, which just focuses on 3 different steps, graduate from one to the next to hopefully get back on your feet. So I think it is a really cool agency that's doing a lot of great things.
It is nice because it was allowing the people who were in that program to kind of do what they would want to do. So in a way, they were working at their own pace, but they also got to pick what they wanted to do. So it was kind of like you were able to get your life back on track in a way that you wanted to with the help of this agency. And it was just different from what we have here. And it really made like an impact on my life, and realizing that not everyone, wants this, they just need someone to believe in them.
Right. Yeah.
And they said that those skills provided them jobs whenever like they were able to leave. Like they taught them those skills and helped them learn, and then they were able to go get a job using those skills, not just like here you may be in the homeless shelter and then you go get a job at fast food or something that you don't enjoy. Like they helped them enjoy what they were learning and get a job after.
To be skilled workers. So yeah.
I think one of the memorable things for me regarding some of this was when it had to have been like day 8 or 9, and we had just left the University of East London for our activities there. And the section we were in before we were going to disperse on the subway was very heavy Muslim population. And we went to the subway. Some of us went to the subway. Andy and others went, and Professor Tina went to the Burger King. But we were the only, we basically were the only, white American population there. But what was fascinating, and I was trying to observe all of you, was that by day 8 or 9, it was like normal to you. And you were just like there because early on in the trip, you were all sort of like, this was new, and there's, oh my God, there's different languages. And by then you were all just like, yeah, I'll have this type of subway. And you were just walking around. You were like, let's go shopping over there, or let's, where are we going after? And it was normalized at that point, or, you felt integrated into that community. And that's where the experience of diversity seemed really to have had an effect, because at that point it was just normal to you.
Right. Yeah, when Jordan, Courtney, and I were out on our own little journey, when we were able to go by ourselves, we had to figure out how to use the underground,
I remember
like
this.
by ourselves, and we were like, oh, I think we're in a really bad spot, and then we're like, nope, it's going to a name that we've heard before, we're just gonna take
We're
it.
getting on the tube. Yeah, we ended up walking. We were like, where is that? What were we looking for? We were looking for like a market, some kind of market. And we asked them where it was, and they pointed us in a direction. We walked that way forever and never came across it. And I'm like, I think we're lost.
And we were in like really weird alleys
Yeah.
and stuff.
Like, there's nothing over here. We were so lost. Get back on the tube.
We made it back, though, safe and sound.
Okay. So what were the effects of going on this trip immediately after the trip? Did it change, when you got back, did you feel different? Like, is a different person or have a different view of things?
So, yeah, like, what was the first week or two like for you after you got back?
It
I
was,
just wanted to share the experience with
Yeah.
everyone. Like, I wish I could have taken everyone I knew, like, with me.
Okay,
and
so
showed
did
them.
you share the experience?
I mean, as much as I could.
And then what was that like though? So what was that like?
I don't know, it was just really, like, I don't think anybody in my family had been out of the country or
Right.
anything, and just, like, getting to share that with them. And talking about our friend that we made down the street from the hostel, was he from Pakistan?
Yeah.
Is that where he was from? Like, I said that and was sharing how he knew immediately that we were from the States, and coming from a really, really small conservative town. At first they were like, well, like, that's kind of weird. But then I was like, no, like, he was so excited, and we made such good friends. And so being able to open the door, like, to people that I knew that diversity was okay, and it doesn't mean something bad always, and just getting to share that experience with people.
I think nobody quite gets it the way that you do.
Yeah.
Have you not? Nobody cares about the experience like we did.
Yeah, I was
Right.
talking about it to someone the other day, and I was, like, smiling, having a great time. They're like, that's a great picture, I don't care.
You're like, no, but it was a good time. Yeah. I think it made me, like, I had been out of the country before. I had done a fair share of traveling, but I really wanted, like, I felt, like, really motivated to, like, practice, like, maybe do my practicum somewhere abroad. Like, it changes the way
Yeah.
like, before it's, I'll find something here in town, and then you experience something like that. And I want to be part of it. I want to go do it, So do you think it's changed for you a year later? We're almost a year back. It's been a year since we went.
I want to go back.
Yeah,
makes
I
me
want to go
sad.
back.
But so obviously it was a good experience and you want to go back. However, how did it change your life today? Like, how, when you go through a year later, through the semester, or as you're preparing for your senior years, for all of four of you, for your senior years, how does it affect your daily life now? Does it?
I think about it often. I talk about it often.
I think before I thought I was like diverse, like I had been in some diverse situations, but then after that experience, it's like, I don't know, it makes me feel like I could, if like I were in practicum and I have a client who maybe is, from a different culture or has something specific about them that maybe I noticed in London, I would feel more comfortable with them. Like, not to where I'm like, hey, I understand where you're coming from, but it would give me a little self-assurance that it's going to be okay, and it's not like,
I think for me that it's almost made me restless. Like, there's not enough to do. There's not enough diversity here.
Yeah.
I can
Exactly.
agree with that.
There's not enough to do. There's not enough different cultural experiences.
It's
things
funny
like that.
because, like, before, me personally, like, you get around a group of, like, maybe 3 different ethnicities, and you're like, wow, this is so diverse. And then you go to London and you're like, oh my gosh, there's none here.
We can't
At
even
least
talk to
where
each
we're
other because
from,
nobody
like-
speaks the same language. You can be in a room with 5 people and nobody has a common language. It was cool. It was really.
Yeah, our diverse is not their diverse, and it was really cool to be a part of their diversity.
Yeah, I thought I knew, like Meg said, like, diversity, but after going there and seeing like 7 different languages just while walking down the street, it opened up my eyes to how diverse it actually is there.
And like especially when when Tina and another classmate, they noticed someone on an escalator with the ASL, like, signing and stuff, and they, like, ran over there. I didn't even know ASL, but I just wanted to go and, like, watch it, and it was cool because it's, like, you have all these different languages going on, and then it's, like, without even noticing, you have another one going on, but there's no vocal, and it's like, around Mac, I do see it every day, but there, it was just, like, it was, like, our first time seeing it again. It was really cool. It made everything, like, brighter and louder and better.
I remember being in the elevator with Professor Christina, and someone was speaking German, I think, and she just starts talking to them, and it was just amazing to me. I mean, just to experience that.
And just too, like, just coming out of your comfort zone, like, just all the way around, whether it be like ordering food at a restaurant or paying at a market versus a store. Just the whole thing, like, we were clearly Americans there, and everyone could tell that we were. And then just embracing that and just going with it was a really cool experience.
We were tourists.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely trying to figure out how much this was and how much that was every night.
How much money you have left.
Yeah.
Like, oh
I could always got them confused. I was like, is this 10 or 5? I don't know.
Like, the week after we got back, I was still trying to convert the money.
What was like? Do you still think about stuff like riding the tube and?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, all the time.
I never thought that I would survive in a big city before. Like, I thought,
neither.
this is where I was from. This is where I'd, probably die. Like,
You've pointed that out a number of times. Like that. Not that you're gonna,
Well,
that
that I'm grounded.
No, yeah, no, but that the day that I said, okay, everybody's on their own, you had said multiple times, I'm not going to make it. You can't do it. And I'm like, yeah, sure, you can do it. So, and you did. And what did you learn from that?
I think that I got a new sense of independence. Like, I think I could go to London and be fine by myself. Like, I really feel confident that I could, and I did not have that before. I was nervous. Like, I'd never really gone anywhere without my parents, and especially not out of the country. But I think that I got a new sense of independence and confidence, and I'm like, it was kind of like the blind leading the blind, but I'm like, Courtney and Chancey, let me take you. I will lead you to the market.
To alleys that we didn't know where we were at.
And when we got lost on the tube, Jordan really took charge and was able to
That map became
help
my
us.
best friend. I didn't think I could read a map either, like a physical map, but our phones didn't work very well, so
That and the map was
Had to
in
learn
colors, and
and
yeah.
I couldn't see the colors.
You gotta learn survival 101. Figure out how to get back to the hostel.
I figured it was just going to be like a one-time experience. Like, I would go, I would enjoy it, remember it, and kind of move on. But, like, after going there and experiencing so many things, I would not want to live there, but I would definitely go back given the opportunity and not think twice about it. I would be nervous, but not to the extent that I would have been before.
So, utilizing my very limited clinical social work skills, what I'm hearing,
Good job.
what I'm hearing is the immersion trip and whole experience of the study tour and being abroad was somewhat empowering in some way and gave, what I'm hearing, I get, maybe for lack of a better word, more courage. So, Meg, you pointed out, you know, if as a practicing social worker, if clients come to you that are of diverse, you're much more confident in being able to work with them, or you're much more confident to travel now through some empowerment, or you're much more confident to be independent. And so it sounds to me like that's sort of a common theme here, is this level of confidence, and that the trip helped you feel more empowered to do certain things.
Well, yeah.
I mean, and my favorite picture and was and I say this all the time, was when I took a picture of Courtney in the British Museum ordering a cappuccino, right? Here's country girl ordering a cappuccino at the British Museum and putting in raw sugar, which is the European thing to do. too, right? And there she was, just boom, engaging in it, and just taking in the experience. And there's just this certain empowerment that goes with that, or at least that's what I feel like I'm seeing.
I think it changed us as people.
Yes.
Well, yeah, like here, if we mess up, like we're kind of, I don't know, me personally, I don't want to mess up. Like I don't want that to be visible to other people. Like you do what you have to do, you move on. And there, it was like, yep, I'm just here and I messed up and I'm going to keep moving on. Like if we did something awkward because it wasn't cultural or whatever, like just embracing like who you are as people somewhere abroad, because I mean, you're not home.
And like Jordan said, one of like feeling like empowered, like learning the tubes, learning the maps, like one of the things that definitely always, whenever I'm feeling like kind of like discouraged or whatever, I always think back to our trip is like the very first day when I saw everyone with their suitcase. And I was, I was looking at it and I was like, that's not my suitcase. And I was like, okay. I was like, this is gonna be a great trip. And it was kind of nice now because like looking back on it, like seeing the way that like I handled it and like everyone else, like just here, like wear this or wear that or I have this
Everybody
or have
give
that.
up a piece of clothing so Meg can have wardrobe.
Yeah.
And
Or
you
like
didn't order Adidas, you had Adidas.
yeah. It was just, it's really nice to just, know that if there's a kind of a crisis that I can get through it and
Right.
I don't have to call
It's
my
not
mom.
the end of the world. Right.
Yeah.
It's not the end of the world. Right.
Yeah. So it was definitely a learning experience.
It was.
So, I guess what I'll do, like I said at the beginning, just come around and explain to you, sort of, because all three of you, four of you, have been in the program, going into your senior year. But in case faculty might be listening to the podcast or whatnot, but sort of how we planned this was there were three things. Professor Jody and I, every summer we get together and talk about where do we want to go with the program. There were three things that came up. One was, as we think about our curriculum, one of the things we talked about was that spirituality as a concept, we had not really fully integrated yet. And from taking your practice classes, self-care is really important from the clinical macro perspective, as well as all macro and meso as well, macro perspective. But self-care is really important in social work, and we know that spirituality is a component of self-care. And then Professor Jody and Professor Tina and I all know that through our MSW program, spirituality was an important component. And so we wanted to actively integrate spirituality somehow. And we thought the best way would be to link whatever sort of new we're doing with potentially a spiritual retreat, and how do we best integrate that. And so this provided an opportunity to do that. And I had experience directing retreats in my past professional life. So that was one reason why we wanted to integrate sort of this retreat with this concept of journey and integrate real spirituality as well. Second was, and I'm glad you all identified sort of this idea of tightening bonds. There's two aspects of that. One, as your professors, we knew from our MSW experience that our classmates are really critical and important for our professional life, because we rely on them to refer clients to, we rely on them for expertise. And so our classmates are really, to this day, and I've been out of school for coming up on 20 years now, are really still important people in our lives and in our professional journeys.
Well, that's how we got to London.
Right, because I
that
had
contact.
contacts there, right? Absolutely. From my MSW program, absolutely. So we wanted to tighten the bonds between you as students, but also we know from research that when faculty and students engage fully, that when those bonds are tightened, it's a better overall experience of it's a better overall undergraduate experience, and there's a lot of research that in fact supports that. So we felt like this would be an opportune time to do an international experience to integrate both of those concepts as well. So that was a second thing. And then the third was, we understand the importance of an international or global perspective. And there, again, is a lot of literature and research that supports international experiences for undergraduates really have incredible outcomes, a lot of which you have identified in this podcast. But ultimately, we wanted to then, the third thing was, we wanted to continue to integrate global perspectives, of which, professionally, Professor Jody and I are really great with poverty issues and Medicaid issues, and we know our expertise areas, right? And she's an expert in domestic violence and victims, but so we were limited in that. So Professor Tina's entrance into the program, somebody who has great global and international experiences, and then we could utilize her, but also we could add sort of this international course as well, and that really, I think for us, this third point of really integrating and then keeping both through social justice class, which you have all taken with either Professor Tina or Professor Jody, and integrating a full semester course in international social work. We said this is going to be the year that we really integrate this, and so that's sort of how all of this came together in sort of this package of an international course with preparation, and maybe this is where, as we sort of shore up, we sort of talk about what was preparation like for you, and was it important? Because we know from research on international study abroad or study tour or immersion experiences, preparation is really important. So how was the preparation important to you?
I think that Tina was a huge asset to us because she had so much experience with that. What we're looking at is this big, kind of thing to tackle. Like, we have all these things to do. This is a big trip. This is a big deal to us. She does this all the time. So it's second nature to her to prepare for big international trips and be, out of her comfort zone. If you can, say someone like her has a comfort zone, I
Right.
guess. And I think that was important. A lot of us didn't have passports, and we had to get vaccinations, and we did fundraising and trying to find different ways to, make it financially work for us. And I think that, maybe that's not an experience we would have had before. A lot of people don't know what it takes, what it all entails to leave the country. It's not as simple as you buy a plane ticket and go, especially not with,
Right.
20 people. So I think that the preparation for it was really important on all the practical aspects of it, as well as the spiritual aspects of it, is that you had to be, mentally prepared so that we're on our own. We're together, but you're on your own, when you're going so far away from home. I think that was an important way to look at it too, is that we were all on this journey together, but it was also individual journeys, and that's something that took a lot of preparation, thinking about if this happens, what am I going to do, how am I going to address this situation. If you have anxiety about being away from home or being somewhere uncomfortable, you have to prepare for that.
I think at the same time there was no way to prepare ourselves for what we experienced. Like, we did all of these things, but I don't think any of us had the expectation of what we actually got out of the trip.
I would agree.
Yeah.
I think that, before we left, I was looking at it more as like a strictly academic experience. As we're going to this, we're going to visit the University of East London, Kim's going to help us out, and we're going to be doing these different agencies and things. And that was important. It was vitally important to who we want to be as social workers. But I think equally as valuable was just being there and the experience. And
Did it help to have your professors there with you? Three professors at least through most of the trip with you.
I think so. I think that you were all pretty worldly people. So I'm sure it was entertaining for you to see us, struggle and float. So, I think it was important. I don't think that, it would have been what it was had you not been there. And I think that it's created these bonds like that. We all share this common experience, and it's a whole new support network, which is important. We know as social workers it's important for clients, but it's important for us too, to be able to have those resources and those experiences. And, we saw the best of each other, we saw the worst of each other, and it's, the bonds that we created were really important. And I think that, I wasn't prepared for that either.
Right.
Just that, you go on these trips, you're in these classes with these people for, 50 to 75 minutes a day, whatever, but they're just people doing the same thing as you, but when you're, living with people, and it's different.
Yeah, the relationships are so much stronger, different, seeing sides of different people, and like Jordan said, spending time with people in classrooms is so much different than sleeping in a room with 10 girls for 10 days.
Find out who snores. Yeah. So I was not prepared for that. I didn't think that, I didn't, I guess, fully understand the whole hostel situation either. I didn't realize what we would be in that close proximity to each other all the time. But
I think our heads were 10 inches apart.
I think they were. I could look beside my bed and see Chancey sleeping. So I wasn't prepared for that either. I wasn't prepared for the bonds that it would create, the way that it would change things. It's because you go on vacation all the time, but does it necessarily affect you the way that trip did? Not really. So I wasn't prepared for that. I'm not sure if there's a way to prepare for that. I think you just have to let it happen.
I think the unexpected was better than what was expected anyway.
Mm-hmm.
I would agree.
Yeah, I definitely think too, some stuff you have to let happen, but you also have to like we had a number of breakdowns, right? 3 up to about halfway. There were a number of breakdowns, and then there was that hump that everybody got over, and then it was like, yeah, let's go do this and let's go do this, and then we couldn't contain you, and
so we're like, we don't want to go home.
yeah, and you don't want to go home, but we did hear.
Let's take the train to Paris.
Right. I did hear the first couple of days though. I think I wanted to go home. Like a couple of people might have even said, or I miss my family or whatnot. Right. So there's definitely that some type of shift that happens there. Yeah.
All right. Well, I appreciate your participation, and I thank you for your time and your interest in helping me.
Any final things to say? No?
All right. Well, this has been another episode of MacMurray Social Work Podcast, and I appreciate your time. Thank you for listening.